Welcome, one and all. This is the Peace Dealer, and this is episode 37 of Peace Talk. This episode, we have a very special guest. Daisy, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good today. I'm doing
This,
really well.
my bad, keep going. Had some
No,
feedback.
I'm doing great. I'm doing brilliant. Today has been an awesome day. Thanks for asking.
Great, great. Definitely feeling the positive energies of today, and I guess even though there seems to be some controversy today, kind of feels a bit uplifting. That's kind of the vibe I get. Of hope and
Yeah.
promise. So for those who are are new to you, what is your sun, moon, and rising?
Sun, moon, and rising. I have a Libra sun. I was born right on the cusp of Scorpio. Um, and I have Sagittarius rising.
Uh-huh. Awesome. And I recently discovered your sun is 29 degrees, Libra.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us about that? What's that like? I think that's amazing.
It's really fun. You
Where?
know, in a world where people can seem so confusing and foreign and strange, having my son at the 29th degree of Libra, I feel like I have a certain level of understanding of people as a whole. I don't really question why people do things anymore because I kind of get it. Now it's just a matter of understanding my own personal responsibility in dealing with what things people may do, or the external environment, others, and those out there don't seem so foreign at 29 degrees Libra.
Yeah. I
Does that
just
make sense?
it just feels like a very powerful degree to me. Like there's so much, it's like the final understanding of all that social power and all that. And I bet like you could notice so much when you're just out there and seeing people interact.
Absolutely. I used to have this weird thing happen to me where I would be sitting in any public environment, public arena, anywhere, and it would just be, me by myself and, maybe two or three or more lone people just kind of individually sitting on their own. Um, I, there was something that I kept noticing where whenever I would like come into the environment, other people would start like linking up. Like I've seen so many random bus stop relationships happen by just sitting there and like watching it happen in front of my eyes. It's a really interesting thing. So I was like, when I remember being very young, I remember being like 13, 12, like, am I Cupid? Am I am I sparking some sort of like, harmonious relationship drug that's making people want to get close to each other, get to know each other?
That's amazing because you literally just helped me understand my theory about Libra. I firmly believe that Libras are here to make sure the right people are connected together. And you just kind of described like real time like how it works. It's different than Cupid because Cupid is a little bit more, I guess, illusory. This is kind of more legit. Like, you know, your energy is very necessary and vital, may I say. I like how you said before the moon is in Gemini and the sun is in Libra, so we have this nice air exchange right now.
Hmm. I love it. I love the air. It's so great.
How do you love Jupiter right now, though? I'm pretty sure you're excited about that.
Jupiter's doing me good, I would say.
Okay.
Jupiter moved um, into my 10th house just recently, and it's lighting up all kinds of things in terms of my career and the way I'm coming out into the world. Um, so, yeah, I'm really feeling lucky. Like the first day Jupiter entered Libra, I applied for two giveaways and won them both.
Wow.
One of
That's
them was
amazing.
one of them was a ticket giveaway to a concert I had already bought tickets for. So I won like 2 extra tickets to the concert that I had decided I wanted to go to. So I was like, okay, clearly the gifts are here. Jupiter's here,
Yeah,
bringing some good stuff.
that's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it.
How's
Wow.
Jupiter treating you?
I can't complain. A whole lot is kind of like coming together. I feel like I'm able to have a lot more fun than I have had in a very long time. So I'm opening my heart and mind to that. It's pretty interesting for sure. We'll see.
Nice.
Libra is my favorite sign, so I definitely feel like there's a lot of surprises in store for sure, for sure.
Awesome.
So how did you get inspired to become the Afro Mystic? How did you start on your spiritual journey, and what is a little bit of what you do as well on your channel and on your site?
Um, the Afro Mystic is just my little slice of the worldwide interwebs. Um, I've been interested in metaphysics, learning astrology since I was very young. Um, I grew up in a household where astrology talk was casually thrown around. My mom's a double Pisces, Sun and Moon. My sister's a double Scorpio, and they were the two characters in my family growing up in my home. So they would have all this little secret mystic talk about being a Pisces and what that means, and being a Scorpio and what that means.
Double
Um,
action, double time. That's
Super water, right?
yeah.
Um, but I just, I was like 3. So I would hear little things about Scorpio and Pisces and me being a Libra. That's when I found out I was a Libra, and I knew it meant something.
uh,
So as I got older, I just started doing more research, doing my own personal research. A lot of the information was hard to find. It wasn't really offered to me as easily as maybe somebody with astrologer parents or something was.
yeah.
So I found out very early that all of this stuff that's interesting to me, that's bubbling underneath the surface, astrology, started getting interested in tarot and other metaphysical modalities. I would have to do my own research. I would have to kind of go into it, read my own books, find my own teachers to kind of give me some information about, the things I was experiencing, like being able to see entities moving about my room as a young child, being feeling connected to the wind and having epiphanies and metaphysical experiences when the wind was blowing at like 4 and 5 years old.
Wow.
And it was very clear to me that something deeper than myself was activated. So as I grew up, I started reading more, came across some really good teachers and elders and started learning about metaphysics, um, and became a mystical weirdo, so to speak. I was into astrology, started studying tarot when I was 16. Um, I did, sorry, I got a phone call. I did um, I started researching ritual. What does it mean to do rituals to affect the electromagnetic field around you. Um, and then when I became an adult, I realized that all of this knowledge came and originated in Africa, and that kicked up my understanding to a whole nother level.
I remember
Um,
that day I realized that and my whole world changed. It was just like, wow, this just oddly makes so much sense right now. Like, damn, everything's just coming together.
I feel like I can't hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we lost. Okay, there we go. We're back. I can hear you though.
You're really low on my end. I'll try to scoot closer so I can hear.
Can you hear me better?
No.
Oh, wow. Well, I could hear you though. You should be good.
Let me. Okay. That's a little bit better.
All right, cool.
Am I? Yeah, there we go. We're back.
But yeah, definitely a great realization nonetheless. I definitely agree.
Yeah,
Important.
it's incredibly important. Um, Once you start getting into the actual history of the world, um, you understand that not only spiritual and metaphysical beliefs, philosophy, but science, originated in Africa. A lot of the systems that are used today originated in Africa. Um, so I, at some point, got really passionate about learning the traditional spiritual systems in Africa, um, traditional ways of looking at the sun and the moon and the planets and how they affect us, astrology,
Mhm.
um, and came to understand myself in a much more deep level than I was before with, just the basics of metaphysics that I was getting from some of the books I was reading.
Okay. Um.
But what I do,
Yeah.
you asked me about what I do. Um, I'm an intuitive reader. I read tarot cards. Um, Lifelong astrologer. I've been studying astrology since, I was wee bit. Um, and also, I like to call myself a magic practitioner. I've done a lot of studying about uh, ritual. I've done a lot of practice with ritual. Knowing what it takes, knowing how to orient myself to make changes in the electromagnetic field around me. So I'm a ritual practitioner as well. I offer readings, astrology and tarot on my website, theafromystic.com, which just launched a couple weeks ago. And overall, I'm dedicated to the health, well-being, and spiritual development of African people and people of the diaspora around the globe.
I really do get that sense from you too with your Taurus moon. I like how grounded and authentic you are. You very much so bring people back to their roots. And I really do feel it's very important because it's something that's not really talked about enough, or a lot of people are having troubles embracing. Another question I do have for you, that, especially when it comes to embracing such energies, you I think you're really the only. I mean, I guess I should tune in more, but you have this really good way of like integrating and incorporating the Orisha into like your daily understandings and interpretations for the days. Could you kind of go into more how you started walking that path?
Yeah. Um, First of all, I didn't realize that that was something that was that out there. I didn't know that people were picking up on that, on that like that. But um, yeah, when I first started the process of going back to find what was lost, throughout my ancestral history, um, I started researching the spiritual system of West Africa, where a lot of Africans that were enslaved and brought to the Americas originated from, from West Africa, from what is present day Nigeria down all the way to Angola, so the West Coast. Um, and it was interesting because in understanding that system of belief, which, I won't get too deep into, um, the Orisha are all, so to speak, children or emanations of one single divine creator, right? So you've got this head creator, and then you have, over 400 different divinities that rule different aspects of our life here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, it was kind of like astrology in that
Yeah.
you have, you know, Capricorn energy that's strong, stable, sturdy, cool, calm, and collected. You know, interested in setting up legacy that will last generations to come. And then you have, you know, the Orisha Batala, which is about similar things, you know. And then you have Libra, which is about the harmony and the balance between opposing forces. And then you have the Orisha Oshun, which is about, you know, sweetness, harmony, beauty, love, art, and dance.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of parallels between what I had already known to be true about humanity and what this spiritual system was saying was true about humanity and was offering healing and offering assistance and support in these different areas of life. Um, so for me, it was a natural way to integrate. It was natural to integrate the Orisha into my everyday life because I live life on a cycle itself. So, you know, one day is for one thing, one week is for a certain energy, one month is for a certain energy. Libra season is for relationships and partnerships and collaborations like this one here,
Yeah.
and so on.
Mm-hmm.
It was really easy to integrate.
I think what's fascinating to me is how easily so much other belief systems in the chronology of when like these predominant religions even spawned, so much of them syncretized from these African traditional religions. Like there's so much of the essence of it in, you know, Islam, Christianity, and I think it's crazy how most people still have this kind of like voodoo perception of it, like, oh, stay away from it, it doesn't, it's evil, you shouldn't mess with the spirits like that. That's why I really kind of appreciate the organic, you know, way you have of talking about it and like expressing it, like, you know, you don't seem like a crazy cat lady who's lighting candles and sacrificing.
No, my cats like to hide. They don't like to be seen on camera.
Never mind.
So, yeah, there are very few practitioners of voodoo, hoodoo, or any of the traditional African religions that are crazy cat ladies, you know, with candles and things like that. Um, that's a myth that I sometimes forget is held in the Western world about African spirituality. However, if you look back into the actual history of Africans and America and the Americas in general, you'll find that um, every single uh, company that was created to enslave African peoples, made sure that on the way and when they got here, their spiritual systems were totally squelched and demonized. In Haiti, if you were found practicing your traditional religion of voodoo that came from the west side of Africa in this new world, if they caught you one time, they cut off your hand.
Wow.
It was that serious. If they caught you two times, they cut off both hands.
Mm-hmm.
If they caught you three times, they cut off both feet. And if they caught you again, they would bury your handless, footless self in a hole on the ground, cover you with honey so the ants could come get you. It was that important to make this spiritual system seem dangerous and scary. You know, it was a threat. So that lingers today. You know, we see it in American
Clearly.
Horror Story.
Yeah, you
You
can
see
see
it in
it.
a lot of different places, and it's wrong.
And they color it very poorly so that it's like something that's underworld when it's very positive, and there's great undertones and a greater understanding of what you can gain from the energies. One thing that also kind of throws me for a loop in a sense is um how you were talking about like when they find, oh, okay, when they find out like how they weren't supposed to worship him. I that is how eventually it got syncretized, right? Because they would have to pretend they were worshiping the saints, but the saints would be like code for other Orisha, and then it kind of like passed on in certain cultures and whatnot.
Yeah, that happened. The resilient, strong, and brilliant and adaptable spirit of African people, even in the hardest times where you could be buried handless, footless in the ground, still found a way to honor what they knew was the core of their essence. Um, and oftentimes they were the deities were uh, masked and kind of encapsulated within these Catholic saints or Christian archangels,
Mm.
which all get their original ideology from African spirituality in the first place.
Exactly.
So
Very important though to reestablish, if I may say so. Who is the energy or Orisha you feel most drawn to in your daily workings?
um, I feel drawn to all the Orisha.
Mm-hmm. That makes
I
sense.
do. I feel connected to all the Orisha. Um, you know, the Orisha, just like the 12 signs of the zodiac, all represent different vibrations of the same wavelength, different frequencies of the same wavelength. Some on one end, on the Aries end, some on the Libra end, some on the Cancer end, some on the Capricorn end. And as as we know with astrology, you have all 12 signs in your zodiac chart. So I, that's kind of what's important to me is remembering the wholeness of all the divinity within.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, remembering how to apply that same information to where you're headed and of course where you've came from. Uh, one, well, I guess let's jump into it because there's a lot to speak on, but I'm really interested in asking a couple more key questions. So let's jump into this quick game. We'll take turns asking each other questions, and yeah,
What?
you'll ask me one first. I'll answer it, then I'll ask you one, and you'll answer it, then you'll ask me one, and then we'll keep going till we get to three.
Jebediah. Leave it to a Jebediah to bust the games out of you.
Oh, you already know what it is.
I should have known. I should have known.
Got it. I got to keep you on hot seat.
Okay, who goes first?
You.
Libra. Libra asking questions. Who goes first? Who's going first? Um,
Oh wow.
Question I have for the peace dealer. Okay, I came
Oh,
across. I believe this is a while ago, but I believe I came across your website from a video I was watching of you doing, I believe, horoscopes.
mm-hmm.
It kind of looked like a news show. It was really cool. And I was like, oh, okay, this person identifies himself as the peace dealer. I've never heard of that before. What is a peace dealer? I'm really interested.
The peace dealer, a peace dealer is a messenger and agent of the divine, and we help channel peace from high vibrations to lower vibrations so that we can bridge heaven and earth. And I can deal you peace, like people deal you drugs, and I can cut you nice deals here and there, and I can be a spiritual liaison, not like a middleman, because what I ultimately help people do is connect directly so that they don't need a middleman. So yeah, I would say that's more or less what goes into peace dealing. The name really just came to me, and what was really crazy about that was I didn't run the numerology of it until like 2 years later, and I realized it's all nine, all of it, like everything about it. So I was like, wow, that's my life path number. So that's
Very interesting. Very interesting. Nines are important.
My question for you would be, where do you what's a good snapshot of like consciousness when we get to social dynamics and people respecting where we all come from, like where especially like black consciousness as well, like where how well do you see people more embracing, or I think another question to ask is, what do you feel about that divide? You know how some people don't really connect well with people back from Africa, and then you have the ones who do. So where do you kind of see uh, that progress going, and then how the world kind of sees and views um, that issue, or the people in general too?
Hmm. You know, I feel my personal priority at this point in the game is making sure that people of African descent, um, who identify as African, who exist in all areas of the world as African people connected to the history of Africa. Um, my personal priority right now is making sure that we're all living healthy, wealthy, and whole. You know, that we have the resources to live and thrive and survive, which is the legacy of our ancestors. You know, Africa is responsible for creating the majority of life-sustaining technologies and spiritual systems and living lifestyle systems in the world.
Civil.
And civilization,
Mhm.
living well, that comes from us. And in this particular part of the world, you know, speaking for the West, um, a lot of the systems that we are attempting to live well in are systems that perpetuate uh, pain, harm, uh, alienation, and isolation from other people. Um, uh, Tension, opposition. You know, there's a lot of fucked up shit going on. You know, in countries that are quote westernized, and it's particularly difficult for Africans, people with African blood who live in African ways around the globe, to live in these death-sustaining systems because we like life. You know, we like to grow our own food. We like to dance to good music. We like to sing um, in ways that are healing. And so my point is, I'm not sure about the ways of the Western world these days. There's a lot that's foreign to what I intuitively understand.
Yeah.
And um, all I know is that in order to live with life and vibrancy, which is the birthright that was given to me by my ancestors who lived that way, there are some of these Western ways of thinking, being, and doing, and speaking that I need to reject. I need to reject. I need to decolonize because it's not healthy to my life-sustaining system, me, my physical unit, and my ancestral memory.
Deprogramming.
Yes, decolonization. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that kind of answers you,
No,
answers your
definitely. It
question.
provides a lot of insight for sure.
Um,
So
so
now
yeah,
your
to
turn.
the, to the melanated people watching, live good, live well, um, learn about Africa. Remember that you're African, and we'll start there.
It's important. Not a lot of people remember, a lot of people reject it almost, and then that could be very damaging. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it's all by design. Like I said, if they caught you doing something that you used to do in Haiti, I mean in Africa, if they caught you in Haiti, they would cut off your body parts. It's a there's uh, a lot of history and a lot of time and attention spent by uh, those who came to colonize, to reject literally where our history comes from. Reject everything you knew before and take on these new ways of thinking, being, and expressing yourself spiritually, understanding yourself spiritually. So it's by design, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Once you understand that it's by design, oh, okay, there's some things I have to do to kind of negate all of this weird shit going on.
Spiritually,
And,
definitely.
so it's a process. It's a process.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, now it's your turn to ask a question again.
Hmm. Let's see. So your moon's in Capricorn, right?
Yeah.
You were born when the moon was in the part of the sky marked off as Capricorn.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. No, that's what I used to think, but it probably might have been in the constellation, but I was born when the moon was in the tropic of, sorry, basically positionally where the moon uh is in the Capricorn region of the sun. I used to think it was constellation based, but it's actually based on the tropic and the, yeah. So yeah, but no, you're right. You're right. Where the Capricorn region is, yeah.
So what does that mean? What does that mean that your moon's in Capricorn?
It's similar to like your moon in Taurus, but instead of the fixed nature where the moon can kind of just mellow out and have that groundedness and express its feelings in a grounded way. Capricorn is still grounded. It's just more melancholic and restricted. And the melancholic isn't necessarily a bad thing too. There's this kind of like cynic, this feeling of cynicism that is sweet to our souls. So we can kind of embellish on that and be very depressing, and then realize, oh, we're bringing others down. But it's not necessarily like we're, I don't know. Actually, it could be very depressing to some people. Capricorn moon could be like really horrible. It's definitely, and then I have my Neptune and Uranus like near conjunct the Cap moon too, and then Saturn is like right on my moon. So the Neptune Uranus definitely adds a lot of mystical and mysticism to what I'm receptive to, and I think that's what makes me more Piscean or a bit more serious about taking the occult and spiritualism seriously. But that just having a Capricorn moon, it takes emotion and it adds a seriousness to it. It's gonna make one feel with a condition attached to success in a way. Like a Capricorn moon isn't gonna feel good really if they feel like they're not at some level, if they haven't accomplished something, as opposed to like say a Aries moon who could feel very excited based off what's happening or whatnot. But it's not the best place to have the moon. One thing I love about it is that the older I get, the more I love it. I appreciate it every single day. It's
Mm.
it's something that it will serve the mature, but it is what it is. I would much rather have a Taurus moon, to be honest. But it is what it is.
It is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my second question to you, I guess, would be, what are three energies um like 3 zodiac signs you love the most, and then 3 zodiac signs you have the most challenge, but they don't necessarily have to be just signs too. Like they could be, maybe you love Mercury and Aries the most, or Sun and Jupiter, or you hate like Venus in the third house. So you can like go any which way with that.
Whoa, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So your 3 favorite energies, and then your 3 least favorite energies.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 favorites. I'm gonna say Pisces energy in general.
Yeah.
You know, I come out of a Pisces womb, and my Pisces fourth house kind of contributes to that. Um, just really fluid and easy going. For the most part, I don't want to generalize, but there's a certain fluidity to Pisces, a certain understanding that uh, you you just kind of could float back into the cosmos if you wanted to. You understand as a Pisces that it's kind of where you come from. That's where you materialize from, something outside, out there, that is also simultaneously within. I just think that's beautiful. I have that similar understanding, so it's easy to vibe with Pisces. Um, Other configuration, um, Gemini. Definitely, Geminis have been my ride or die since day one.
Yay, that's awesome. Awesome.
My best friend in the world is a Gemini. Some of my favorite artists, musicians are Geminis. Um, but Gemini, I like Gemini energy. It keeps me uh, open. Like I have that fixed Taurus moon that can sometimes kind of hunker down on things. Gemini reminds me and my Libra-ness to be light, to uh, to breathe,
That's
to be
important.
mutable in my ways of being. So I've had a lot of experience with really good Geminis. Uh, and Leo. Leo's good. I like Leo energy.
Okay.
Challenges. Mercury and Aries. Mercury and Aries is pretty challenging for me. I've found from my experience, because as someone with a lot of Venus signatures in my chart, um, when people's natural speaking voice is abrasive or really forward, or abrupt, it jars my central nervous system sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of experiences with people with Mercury and Aries that have that quality.
Okay.
So I think I would say Mercury and Aries. Um, I love Virgo energy, yet it's difficult, um, because
I think Virgo has been in that list every episode.
oh
Maybe like 4
man,
episodes. Maybe like, yeah, the last episode Virgo was actually on the love list, but usually everyone like puts them on the shit list because they are challenging. They got to stop being so nitpicky.
man, Virgos, you're not on the shit list. You're not on my shit list. I just have challenges because
They're
like I said,
challenging.
challenge you, right? I have that Pisces orientation to things, where things are kind of an emotional connection, a spiritual understanding, an intuitive connection, um, that can sometimes be telepathic and without words. Whereas Virgo really places the emphasis on the communication aspect of that, being able to identify, uh, isolate, and explain, with a study guide what's going on here. And sometimes I don't think in study guide, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and most difficult configuration. Um, I'd say the third house in general.
The
The third
third
house.
house, really? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, that's very.
Um, yeah. Uh, I can look back on my past like educational experiences, my experiences in school, and understand like when you're that young and you're maybe in elementary school for fourth or fifth grade, and you're learning about how society works and how the social arena works, and you're learning from textbooks and things like that. Um, like I said, I've got a lot of Pisces energy. I can remember looking back or being there and being like, there's something about the way I'm being taught that isn't really in alignment to the way I think. You know, like homework. Who likes homework? I know there's somebody out there that likes homework. But I remember the busy work given to me and just very kind of basic. What am I ever going to use this for in real life? Teachings, and I just remember feeling really challenged by that aspect of it, which is why I started reading my own books and kind of
That is so
detaching.
Sagittarius rising of you. It's interesting.
Yeah. So the third house.
Cool, cool. All right. I think we each got one more question.
One more question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh crap. 2023. Oh,
So Capricorn, in the vein of that Capricorn moon, um, we know Capricorn is about elderhood. You said the more you grow, the older you get, the more you like it, the more you understand what this Capricorn moon means.
yeah.
Capricorn associated with elderhood, leaving a legacy for your future generations to come. Looking back into the legacy that your elders left themselves. Um, what what legacy would you like to leave for your great and great great grandchildren? How do you want your great and great great grandchildren to know and remember you?
Wow, that's an amazing question. I literally spent last night like planning out the legacy I wanted to leave. So, I mean, as far as like my great grandparents, I mean, my great grandchildren, I guess when they talk about me, I would want them to see all the YouTube videos that I've made and the books that I've written, and they could look at me as someone who really spread awareness of higher conscious thought and helped really change the perception, and people tap into who they are a lot more, and that I would also like to, of course, leave the very earthy Capricorn. Like I'm very focused on them like having money in the bank for college and stuff. So in that aspect too, like I'd like them to be secure in that sense. But that was a very good question. Like it's very important. Like even if I didn't have kids, right? Like I would still like to leave that legacy of a true messenger and someone who was able to share peace with those who with everyone, whether you need it or not, right? And just be live by example, that person that I don't always necessarily preach, but even if I did, yeah. And here's to actually achieving that legacy. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. My last question to you is what is your favorite way to connect with these higher forces? I really do get the sense that you're very connected and in tune, and then drawn back to what is really essential, as opposed to what we're shown and meant to think we're meant to gain. So what's your preferred method, or how just do you do it in general?
All right. So since I know that my ancestral lineage contained geniuses.
Oh, no.
And I know that this ancestral lineage through DNA has passed on information via DNA to my genes. I am actually, a DNA amalgamation of my ancestors. I like to talk to them. They know a lot of really, really, really dope stuff, and they can assist you and guide you on your daily path as well as your long-term path.
Nice.
So I like to. I've been lately looking at it as like a phone call.
Okay.
I like to, whenever when you're in a jam, call your ancestors. I like to kind of tap in, breathe, get into my body, um, and kind of dial them up. Sometimes I even hear like the dial up kind of sounds, sounds of like a radio channel changing, and I find their frequency. And then I listen. I listen and I speak. I speak to them with honesty and sincerity. If I'm having a hard time, I'm coming to them, this higher intelligence, saying, I know you have my best interest at heart, and I'm here with an issue that I'm looking to resolve. It's simple,
Yeah.
and the work is getting yourself to a place where you can hear them, you can receive their messages. It's kind of like mediumship or channeling in a
Yeah.
sense, and it's especially every person of African descent's birthright to be able to do that.
Yeah. They definitely do watch over us. They definitely do. I would say, yeah, regardless too. Great answer. That the ancestors are definitely important.
Yeah.
I guess to close, do you have any last word of advice for any aspiring spiritualists? And also, how can people reach you if they want readings from you or if they just want to speak to you?
Advice. I'm gonna go ahead and speak from my Taurus moon and say, remember to breathe. Take deep breaths. Um, a lot of the struggle and the suffering that we experience comes from being emotionally tight, or having an imbalance of uh, being out of balance emotionally, having one thing on either side of the extreme. So breathing brings you back into center.
Yeah.
Breathe before you make any decisions. Things will be a lot clearer, and then it should be the landing point from where you move. So any spiritualist, whether you're studying astrology, tarot, any kind of intuitive development, you're going to need to know how to breathe, because in those breathy and silent moments is where you get your information. And like I said, I just launched my new website a couple weeks ago. The website is theafromystic.com. In the shop section of the website, you can purchase and schedule a reading. If you're interested in learning more about what kind of reading to get, you can look at the services tab, and that'll tell you what you want to know. And also like to post on Instagram sometimes, so you can follow me at that Afro Mystic on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was cool. We finally got a chance to do this after rescheduling like 70 times, like good
Right.
airtime.
And
Good airtime.
we finally ended up on the right moon time with the airs and the Geminis and the leaps. So, all right, y'all. And until next episode, we'll definitely catch y'all. Peace.